So we're back here at the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum for day 2 of Sd.Kfz. Just taking you through some of the static displays that are in the museum at the moment. One really interesting one at the moment is that we have here the StuG III Ausf.A, which is a fairly rare variant, very early variant of the StuG III assault gun. This one mounts the 75mm howitzer at the front, and it was built on the Panzer III chassis. So you can see here the standard sort of configuration of the Panzer III chassis with the 6 small road wheels, the front and rear ones damped with a torsion bar suspension. As with the Panzer III, engines in the back. Final drive is at the front, so you've got a drive shaft running forward to that front drive sprocket. And so what you see there is the casemate, which is built on top of the Panzer III chassis to house the crew, and that 7.5cm or 75mm gun, which we'll cruise around and take a look at the moment. So being the Ausf.A, it's one of the very early configurations of the StuG III, when it was still pretty much set up for being in a infantry support role primarily, where the use of the howitzer to help the infantry assault strong points, machine gun nests and that sort of stuff was the key use of the vehicle. So as an assault gun, it wasn't operated by the Panzer Corps, it was operated by the Artillery Corps, and they were assigned to support infantry on the advance. One of the really great things here today, of course, is that you've got the StuG III right here, and the vehicle that normally lives near it is actually out on the track for driving around today. That's Panzer 38T, but it means that right next to the StuG III we have a Panzer IIIJ. So here we have the vehicle chassis. It was effectively a later version of the vehicle that donated its chassis for the StuG III. You can see that they're very similar. You've got the 6 small road wheels, final drive at the front, different drive sprocket on the J, given that it's a later version of different. Looks like that's a cast drive sprocket on the Panzer IIIJ versus a fabricated one machined out of smaller cast components on the StuG III-A. StuG III-A, there was only about 30 of them built, and they were first seen in the Battle of France. The Panzer IIIJ, which we've got over here, which is sporting a 5cm or 50mm gun, is an upgunned version of the Panzer III. The original Panzer III had the 3.7cm anti-tank gun, but was rapidly upgraded. The Panzer IIIJ was the most numerous variant built during the war, and saw service in the Eastern Front and North Africa. It didn't see service in the Battle of France, at least in this configuration, and was retired from production prior to the Allied invasion of Normandy. So because of the impact of Russian armour and their larger guns and their ability to knock out German tanks, the Panzer III gun had been upgraded from early in the war to the 5cm gun. But because of the relatively small size of the chassis, it was unable to be upgraded further, so the turret ring could not be expanded further to allow the turret to be expanded to allow a larger gun to be fitted. And so it was deemed to be effectively obsolete as a tank. However, the chassis remained in service and provided the basis of a large number of other armoured vehicles, such as the StuG III, which went on to become one of the most numerously produced armoured vehicles of World War II. So the chassis lived on, and the tank was ultimately retired. So both of these are early war German armoured vehicles, which in the case of the Panzer III were retired before the end of the war, but in the case of the StuG III were continued to be upgraded with the addition of 75cm 75mm, 7.5 centimeter guns that were useful in anti-tank roles as well as in howitzer roles or in roles to support continued supporting the infantry.